5256. And we're in the home stretch, folks. So we have one more bill to brief, and we have two panels to testify. And Allison, why don't you brief us on 5397?
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Allison Mendiola, committee staff. Before you is Senate Bill 5397, as you mentioned, sponsored by Madam Chair. This bill addresses what this bill addresses is DCYF using public benefit payments, such as supplemental security income, paid to or on behalf of a person in their care, such as in foster care, for the reimbursement of the cost of that person's care. Under this bill, effective January 1, 2026, DCYF may not apply benefits paid to or on behalf of a person in the care of DCYF as reimbursement for the cost of that person's care. The cost of care work group is created within the department to consider and analyze, among other things, how other states and jurisdictions are addressing this issue and develop a timeline for DCYF to end this practice. They are also to make recommendations and a report to the legislature on a number of issues as outlined in your bill report, which would be due September 1, 2024. And this would also include the cost of implementing this change. The bill specifies who's to be part of this work group and the specific issues to be considered. The work group ends at the end of 2026. DCYF is to assess whether a person in their care is eligible for public benefits and develop a financial literacy training, including information related to this. This information is to be shared with those over the age of 16 leaving the care of DCYF who are receiving or may receive benefits and are likely to have the ability to participate in the management of their benefits in the future. A fiscal note was requested on January 11th and has not yet been received. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for staff?
Thank you.
Thanks. Once again, this is a bill looking at our systems from inside and whether, in fact, we're actually supporting the very young people, in this case, that the state is raising. And there are many youth in our foster care system who qualify for and receive supplemental security income or other public benefits for a variety of different reasons. And these individuals are also particularly vulnerable. A third of the young people in foster care experience homelessness, and you heard that earlier. By the time they're 21, and 17% of youth in foster care experience homelessness within a year of exiting care. I don't think that was anyone's goal, to care for a child and then have them age out and be homeless. At the same time, the state of Washington currently diverts federal supplemental security income to DCYF to offset the cost of care for these young people. So in essence, not only do they not receive the benefits that they're qualified for, but the individuals that have had no say of whether they enter a system or not are actually paying for their own care. The bill will end the practice. Just like we've talked about ending parent pay, ending incarcerated individuals paying for certain assessments required by others, just like the Washington Future Fund, this is another step in helping to build the foundations for generational wealth for our young people across the state. And again, you just don't give people money and expect that they've got the skill set to know what to do with it. So it also comes with a provision to provide financial literacy training to youth in foster care system, and, as you heard, to establish a work group to explore the best ways to manage the funds for the recipients. And I welcome any questions members might have and look forward to the two panels we have to testify in support of the bill. All right, Vice Chair Gesundheit. We have lots of Gesundheits around today. Yeah, it's kind of unnerving. Here we go. It is Monday. Vice Chair Kaufman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We do have a remote panel. Amy Harfeld, Aaron Shea McCann, and Diana Stanton.
And we will look for you on gallery view, and then when we see you, invite you to speak. And it is good afternoon, Amy. I know DCYF folk in the room are happy to hear it is afternoon now. So, Amy, we'll start with you.
Okay, let me get all set. Good morning to you guys, and thank you so much for having me here today. My name is Amy Harfeld, and I serve as the National Policy Director for the Children's Advocacy Institute, a 501c3 based out of California, but I am in Washington, D.C. Just imagine for a moment learning that a public agency had applied for and pocketed your insurance benefits or public entitlement dollars without your knowledge for years. It is an outrageous scenario to contemplate, and it's happening in many states, including in Washington. Child welfare agencies routinely apply for and intercept benefits of eligible foster youth and use the money to reimburse themselves for the cost of care, a cost which is already their duty to bear under federal and state law. This happens with no notice to the child or their attorney. Charging children for their own care makes no more sense than charging parents for their child's time in foster care, a policy which Washington just recently acted to fix. Taking the benefits of these particularly vulnerable youth while the state pays for the tab of all other foster children is contrary to basic principles of equity as well as to the best interest of the very children DCYF exists to protect. Washington's action to stop this unjust practice reflects increasing policy reforms across the country. Parents work hard to set their children up for success. When Washington acts as the legal parent of foster children, it should work towards that same goal. DCYF should be commended for its principled partnership in advancing this measure and urged to act with due haste in implementation and in recognition of the hundreds of foster youth waiting to have access to their own benefits. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for testifying this afternoon. And Aaron, you're up.
Good afternoon, Chair Wilson and members of the committee. My name is Erin Shea McCann. I'm the Director of Policy and Systemic Advocacy at Legal Counsel for Youth and Children. Our attorneys provide a wide range of legal services to young people, including in child welfare cases and to young people experiencing homelessness. We're deeply familiar with the issue Senate Bill 5397 will address, and we ask that you pass it out of committee. DCYF's practice of essentially garnishing the SSI or other public benefits of children in foster care who are eligible due to their low income and disability is incredibly problematic. A government agency entrusted to protect these children's best interests should not be taking their limited resources and using those funds to pay for the child's cost of care. Instead, DCYF should be protecting the funds and ensuring that youth have access to it for the purposes that they or a representative payee see fit based on the unique needs and circumstances of the youth. Too often, our attorneys have represented young people in care who are eligible for SSI benefits, but who don't realize they were eligible, which also means they do not know that DCYF has taken money intended for their benefit. Typically, it is not until a child is appointed an attorney that the youth learns that funds that should be going to them are instead being routed to the agency that removed them from their family. Young people shouldn't have to worry about and to wait to know if their benefits will be protected by the agency charged with their care and custody. Please pass the bill out of committee, and thank you for the opportunity to speak today.
Thank you. And Diana, I do believe.
I'm here, but I can't get my video to work for some reason. I've been on Zoom all morning, and now it doesn't want to work. Okay.
Well, I know who you are, and that's your voice. So good morning, good afternoon, Diana. Go for it.
Thank you. Madam Chair, members of the committee, my name is Diana Stadden with the ARC of Washington State, and we advocate for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And we are testifying in support of Senate Bill 5397. We have a lot of children, unfortunately, with intellectual and developmental disabilities who are in foster care. And when we know that there's so much chance of someone in foster care being homeless when they leave the system, it doesn't make any sense that we're going to take away any money that they would have that might help them avoid being homeless when they leave. But especially for people with developmental disabilities, we have the ABLE Act, where there are places that the money could be put in a special needs trust to save for when they are ready to leave foster care. And I'm glad that they're having a work group look at things And I'm hoping one of the things that could happen out of that would be that guardianship would be looked at before the person leaves, especially with an intellectual or developmental disability. They need a guardian in place to help them learn all this stuff for the financial piece. Thank you.
Thanks, Diane. Always nice to hear from you. And the last panel chair, Vice Chair Kaufman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have in person Sam Martin and Allison Kretzinger.
Allison, you're going to be able to say good afternoon. I'm so excited about that. I know you are too. Let's have you start.
Excellent. For the record, Allison Kretzinger with the Department of Children, Youth, and Families. Good afternoon. Here in strong support of this bill and the approach this bill takes. DCYF has a strategic priority of successfully supporting the transition of young people, and financial security is a piece of that puzzle. We have successfully, over the last couple of years, repealed parent pay for incarcerated young people in juvenile rehabilitation, as well as stopped child support payments collections from parents when children are removed. This is a logical next step in living into our mission and our values. And this step is infinitely more complicated than those two policy approaches that I just named. Thus, we support the approach outlined in this bill. The governor's budget included a proviso directing us to do the same work, and are thrilled to see a bill move forward that codifies the date by which we should end. We have one small date change that I will send over, but otherwise, thank you for your leadership on this, and we look forward to the work ahead.
Thank you. Sam, you're wrapping us up today.
All righty, I will be quick. Thank you, Chair Wilson and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Sam Martin. I'm the lobbyist of the Mockingbird Society, also representing my organization, SDMC. Across the country, there have been numerous examples of young people having these resources taken from them, and instead of giving them their cash benefits they are owed from the federal government, they're being garnished. You've all heard that today, and so we know that Washington is one of those states, and Mockingbird stands vehemently against that. According to investigations from the Marshall Project and NPR in 2018, $6.89 million was taken in SSI benefits from young people in foster care. We know for certain that young people in our network need more resources to create a pathway to safe and stable adulthood. Just this morning, you heard me address the need for extended foster care. Had to clarify what time it was since we're in the afternoon now. It's that our responsibility as a society. It's our responsibility as a society and as a state to take care of these young people, just as you heard Senator Wilson say earlier. This bill would end the practice of effectively garnishing these resources from young people. We urge a strong yes vote for this bill, and recognize that, again, we have a responsibility for these young people, and they shouldn't be paying to take care of themselves. Thank you.
Thank you. And that ends the hearing on Senate Bill 5397, and as a matter of fact, ends today's Human Services Committee. And I want to thank folks in the back. I see some young faces in the back of the room. And I want to thank you for spending a couple hours with us, because you could have been a lot of other places. So hopefully you've got some thoughts about the bills you just heard, and hopefully you share those with folks that you talk with. So thanks so much, and wrapping the gavel goodbye.